Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. I am Recher here with you live from Amalie Arena in Suite 71. This looks like it's going to be my home on game days. Shout out to the Tampa Bay Lightning, Steve Versnick, and the entire crew for making accommodations so that I can do my show here after morning skate. And my goodness, what a great morning it has been already. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Recher. That's Facebook, that's YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. And I want you to join me as well. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Over 1,000 subscribers. That was my goal by the end of the month. I was able to achieve that. Thank you, everybody, for chipping in. And let's just keep this train moving. 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. It does not stop. So when I'm doing the show here from Amalie Arena, you may hear some things in the background. You may see some people behind you, which is great. But that's the beautiful thing about the Recher podcast. We're going to be live every single day at noon. Tomorrow, back home at home base, but every single time, let's say the majority of the time, 95% of the time, there is a home game here at Amalie Arena. I will be doing the show from here. That has been my goal the entire time. And again, appreciate the Lightning for me being able to make those accommodations for me. Shout out to Thaw and Ryan B and Dolan G. Chris Meek, show the kicks. We will show you here in a second of what is going on here with the kicks. David Terry, Jay Bird, the Bolts are going to come out with their ass on fire. 5-2 Bolts. You guys want to know what kind of shoes that I'm wearing today? Well, Coach Cooper, you should have seen his reaction to my sneakers today right here at Amalie Arena. We were waiting a little while for him to join us for morning skate. We're going to watch it together here in a second, okay? But I wore these shoes last year to the sneaker soiree, and John Cooper was a big fan of them then. Today, a little bit of a different reaction from Coach Cooper. So let's hear what John Cooper, or let's see what John Cooper had to, or how he reacted to my shoes from today.
Jen, you had a practice in yesterday. You talked about the value of those. How was it getting that?
And there you have it. There you go. John Cooper, a fan, not a fan of the kicks today. He was a fan last year, a fan today. That's what we got to love about Cooper. He always has a ton of fun. These are the kicks today, shining bright like a diamond. And if you hit the button, different colors, green, blue, yellow, kind of another kind of aquamarine, pink, white. Oh, yep. Got the color change. Amazing. I love these shoes. And I just turn them off for now because you're not going to see them other than then. But the sneaker soiree is tomorrow night. And I got another pair of shoes. Kind of like that one, but a little different. And I actually have laces that light up as well. No, great question here. Has Phil Esposito seen the light up kicks yet? He has not. But you bet your sweet ass I'm going to record Phil Esposito's reaction to those sneakers because you know me, I like dress shoes, right? I'm a big dress shoe guy. But for these, these were just special. And I wanted to wait for a certain time to be able to bring that back out because this is only the second time I've ever worn them. But tonight, because the sneaker soiree is tomorrow and I'm debuting some other LED lit up kicks tomorrow, we're going to have to wear them today. So it worked out pretty damn well. All right, again, Follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, everywhere. Shout out to our guy, Jeff Taylor, always tuning in, supporting as well. Big show today, like every day. At 12:15 today, Rick Stroud is going to join us from the Tampa Bay Times. We're going to talk Liam Cohen. We're going to talk the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rick drove 4 hours to Jacksonville to be there for Liam Cohen's press conference. I want to get his perspective on the entire situation with Liam Cohen and where the Buccaneers go from here when it comes to their next offensive coordinator. And Rick and I were joking earlier this week because we've been playing kind of phone tag, trying to get him on the show. He said, yeah, they'll probably name the new offensive coordinator when I go live with you. So we'll keep a keen eye on that. So I'm trying to let everybody know for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just can we give it 20 minutes? Give us 20 minutes. Give us 30 minutes. Let Rick finish what he's got to do here on the Jay Recher podcast, and then we will go from there. Also today, 1 o'clock, Rich Hollenberg is going to join us from the FanDuel Sports Network, also from ESPN. We know that he does such a great job with the Tampa Bay Rays. He's been doing it for years. And, man, if you've ever heard him on the college basketball broadcast on the Four Letter Network, he's the best. He's the man and a great guy, and he's really trying to do whatever it takes to help build the next generation of broadcasters. His break-in, breakthrough program is helping young, aspiring broadcasters around the country. It's amazing to watch. And it's not about what you do on this earth. It's about your actions and how they affect other people in a positive way. And I look at a guy like that, and I'm just so glad to call him a friend and a colleague. And then 1:30 today, Eddie Encina is going to join us for his weekly hit to talk all things Tampa Bay Lightning, Kucherov, Vasilevsky, Victor Hedman, and the like. But before we get to Rick Stroud at 12:15, I'm going to give you my takeaways from morning skate today. First one being that Andrei Vasilevsky was on the ice. So John Cooper wasn't committal that he would be between the pipes. He was hopeful, but we didn't see Jonas Johansson on the ice tonight. We did see Kyle Konen. So the emergency backup goalie, the backup from the other night when JoJo played, I doubt that Vazzy would be on the ice if he wasn't playing. Like if Vazzy was on the ice, it'd be one thing, and maybe if JoJo was on the ice and you had all three guys out there. But the fact that it was just two guys, if I was a betting man, I would say that Andrei Vasilevsky would be between the pipes tonight for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Also, Nikita Kucherov back out there on the ice as well. Great to see him out there after missing practice yesterday. Zemgus Girgensons, unfortunately, not on the ice. It seems like it could be an 11-7 type tonight because we know Moser's not coming back. Lilleberg is suspended for one more game. And Mikey Encina was one of the last guys on the ice with Moser and with Lilleberg. So I would think that Cam Atkinson draws in, Mikey Encina draws out, and Darren Radish didn't skate today, but I saw him downstairs and he was making fun of me because of my shoes. So I think he'll be in there. So if you look at it, it'll be Hedman, it'll be Radish, it'll be McDonough, it'll be Chernak, it'll be Perbix, it'll be Declan Carlisle. So there's your 6. 12-6. Oh, yeah, because you got Gonsalves up here too. So, yeah, I think Encina will be out tonight and Cam Atkinson will draw in. So we'll see how the whole lineup goes for the game this evening. But I was not too thrilled with the performance from Mike Encina the other night. Lightning down 3-1. Connor Bedard, their star player, trips up and about to pick up a tripping penalty. And here comes Encina with a hit in the corner. Trying to prove a point. I don't know what point that is, but you eliminate the power play and pretty much extinguished any possibility that you had trying to get back into this game. So a strong move, if that does happen, from the Tampa Bay Lightning coaching staff. And I think every once in a while, you got to let the guys know, like there's certain things that you cannot do. This team has to be smarter. And it's not just Mikey Encina. You've heard me say it here on the program before. They got to get better in every aspect, but they got to get smarter. They got to make better decisions. If you missed the conversation that we had with Eric Erlinson, it's up on my YouTube channel. All of our interviews are saved up on my YouTube channel. He said they don't make smart decisions with the puck. Guys, when is that a good thing? When do we see Stanley Cup champion hockey teams make poor decisions with the puck? You just don't see it. It's a foreshadowing of things to come. And we don't like that. We don't think that is a good thing here for any team, but especially our Bolts. Ryan B brings up a great point. This was the big news of the morning. Victor Hedman captain of Team Sweden. I so happy and so proud of Victor and being able to see him do his thing. I love it. I love to see what he's brought to the table. And we're going to play some of the Victor Hedman audio here in a bit. After we talk to Rick Stroud, we'll also play the John Cooper audio for you as well. So you're not going to get that everywhere else, but you're going to get it right here because there wasn't that many people at morning skate today. So we know our guy Eric Erlindson's on 100%, but he'll be here tonight for sure. But after Rick Stroud, we will play you the full audio of Victor Hedman's media availability today, as well as John Cooper. And he actually starts his media availability today saying, how am I going to focus with Jay and his freaking shoes over there? But Ryan B., you bring up a great point. Victor Hedman, the captain of Team Sweden for the upcoming Four Nations, he let us know that he's kind of known for a couple of months. But to know that it's going to be him and Matthias Ekholm and William Nylander and one of his best friends in Erik Karlsson, it's a beautiful thing. And for a guy like that who's been a captain or assistant captain for many, many years in the National Hockey League, to get him representing his country, I know it means a lot to him. So, yeah, we'll have Rick Stroud joining us here momentarily. Again, Rich Hollenberg joins us at 1 o'clock, and then Ed Encina at 1:30. So we got a couple of our guys from the Tampa Bay Times. And before Rick comes on, I do want to let everybody know, and we say this every single time, we are communicating and we're chatting with some of our friends here in the local media. Support local media. Please, please, please. That never changes. And there's so many ways to get your content. And there's so many national people that may kind of have their finger on the pulse, but nobody better, especially than our beat writers, our Topkins, our Strouds, our Encinas, a guy like John Romano writing his opinion columns, Colleen Wright, who we've had on the show multiple times. You got to support local, whether it's newspapers, radios, TVs, everybody. We got to do whatever we can to be able to continue to pump in a lot of money, a lot of energy, whatever we can do to support them. Because, listen, they're the ones with the boots on the ground. They're the ones that are around these athletes and around these teams and coaches and front offices. I mean, this is the best content you're going to get. It's a big reason why I'm continuing to do this here on the Jay Recher podcast, because there is a vacuum and we need some local sports content right here at noon. All right, let's bring in Rick a little bit early. I know he's got a lot of things going on. Not only Rick Stroud from the Tampa Bay Times. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
So, man, I'm trying to get framed up here just right for the Jay Recher podcast.
Well, we are at the Dan Patrick show, but listen, we'll do what we can.
That's all good, man. Good. Thanks for having me. Finally got on. It's taken a while. Are we frozen? Jay?
Oh, there we go. We're back. Okay. I was talking to Colleen Wright the other day about she was at the Pointer Institute talking to Tom Jones. And I said, man, the first thing I ever did when I worked here in the Tampa Bay area was interning for the sports page with Rick Stroud and Tom Jones many, many moons ago. So 10, almost 11 years ago, Rick, that was. So
yeah,
pretty good stuff.
You survived it. That's a good thing, man. You're one of the survivors.
You got that right, man. You got that right. Rick, tell us, let's just start off right with the Liam Cohen thing. You drive 4 hours up there to Jacksonville. Just take us through that process and the conversation you had with him, because there aren't too many people here happy in the Bay Area with how he handled this situation.
Yeah, and that's understandable. First off, I found out that the Jags had not invited anybody from the Tampa Bay media. It was an invitation-only press conference. I haven't seen many of those, quite frankly, but they said they had a small room. It's not a small room. Turned out to be a couple seats empty next to me in the media section. But be that as it may, even though, I did have my hand up for about 33 minutes, I didn't get called on. That turned out to be a good thing. Obviously, I made eye contact with Liam. And, you know Liam very well. I mean, the guy is he's a stud of a play caller. I don't know what he'll do as a head coach, but I give him a fighting chance up there. And he came over, and we were able to talk for a little while. And look, I think he's remorseful in the small conversation I had with him. Certainly wished it had gone down a different way. But I think, presented with what happened, they fired the GM. They make another run at him. He'd already agreed to this deal to withdraw from the Bucs. And so obviously going back up there would have nullified that. I think the Bucs would have been okay if he'd have said, hey, I had a change of heart. He should have handled it better. But at the end of the day, there's only 32 of these jobs around, Jay, and nobody's comfortable with how it went. But as he told me, time will heal if you just give it some time. He knows Jason Light is probably the most upset with him. I'm sure Todd Bowles is too. And I think the reason why they're so upset, in addition to just kind of going, around them and disappearing off the grid for about 27 hours, is that, he's really good. They didn't want to lose him, and they want continuity, and this will be their fourth coordinator in 4 years. That's not really a recipe for success in this league, but they've done a really good job, obviously, hiring the last two guys that got to be head coaches. So now they're going to have to go 3 for 3.
Rick, what was that like for you when that news started trickling down? Like when you saw that Trent Baalke got let go, did the warning signs go up for you? Like, whoa, wait a second, the door might be opened here.
Yeah, the timing wasn't coincidental, right? They were having trouble attracting some top candidates. Obviously they lost the guy to Detroit, but in general, when you see something like that quick to Liam Cohen saying that he was going to withdraw his name, there's obviously a reason for why they did that. Now, they didn't know exactly what Liam's response would be to it, and I don't think it was simply the GM, but that was a big impediment to them getting really good candidates. I think Robert Saleh would have taken that job if Liam did not. But I've been through this because I've done it so long. It felt like what it was. It was a runaway bride situation, because that Wednesday, about 12:30, they announced, the Jags do, that they're parting with Trent Baalke. And Liam was supposed to be in to sign his contract. And, these contracts aren't binding in the sense that if you're going for a head coaching job, they can't block you. But nonetheless, he didn't come in that day. They were going to try to set up a Zoom with us or whatnot. Then when he didn't come in the next morning, and they had no idea where he was, that's when it felt like the Bill Parcells and the Chip Kellys before him. And you just get this spidey sense that, something's happened here, and it was pretty easy to connect the dots. And I'll say this, that there were some over there at One Buck Place that were as upset as I've ever heard them, except at me. And so they were really, I think, hurt by it, surprised. They found out also he was in Jacksonville through other means. It wasn't just when he called and said he was going to look back into it. He was actually sitting in Jacksonville, and they had gotten word from people in the building that he was there. So that's not a good way for your employer to find out you're looking for a new job, to have the place that you're at call and say, hey, your guy's in our building right now.
Rick, do you think the way he handled this situation will have any impact on his job and how he performs there with the Jaguars?
No, I don't. I mean, it's a different organization. I mean, he's got some headwinds that are different from Tampa Bay. That'll be in his rearview mirror. He can't be focused on that. I don't know that people will look at that and say, he can't be trusted, or, lack of integrity or whatnot. But I do think that, once he gets in there and informs his staff and does those things he needs to do, he should be just fine. And he's, like I said, he's a smart guy. He's only 39 years old. This job, however, is not anything he's used to doing. Right. We talked to Dave Canales before, and Dave was warned by Todd Bowles when he took his head coaching job that, you're going to have 5 or 7 things every day come across your desk and occupy your time. Anything from, moms being sick, to girlfriends leaving, your wives and the children and all this, that's going to take away from your time for preparation. He's still a play caller. That's what he has done, the best in his career so far. And so he now has to learn how to lead the entire team. I don't think he'll have trouble getting in front of the room and setting the tone necessarily. But the time management's going to be, there's no way to prepare for that until you're doing it.
Rick, who do you think they turn to now? Is it going to be somebody on that long branch of the Sean McVay coaching tree? Think about how that tree is going to look like in 20 years, right? We always talk about coaching trees in football. McVay, I'm older than McVay. You know what I mean? I'm a year older than him. And his coaching tree in 20 years, I mean, you're going to need a whole bulletin board to be able to look at that damn thing. You're going to need the Jerry World Titantron out there at the Dallas Stadium. Who do they turn to now, Rick, for this offensive coordinator? Because you want continuity. You want a guy that's going to put an onus on running the football a lot better, like we saw this past year. And I also think if you bring Chris Godwin back, Rick, you got to focus on a guy that's going to keep him in the slot and accentuate his strengths, because we saw the big difference with with CG from the Canales years to the Cohen years. So I
Yeah.
think that continuity or similarity, do we have any names that you think they might be leaning towards? I know there's a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll look at their in-house guys too, but I think 3 of the 6 guys that they have talked to are all have Rams ties, and I don't think that's a coincidence at all. They're looking for continuity, at least in terms of the scheme, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to have to start over with install, with a completely new system, with new verbiage. That's the biggest thing, is just learning the language, right? You go from Spanish to Mandarin Chinese every year. It slows you down. And that was the hope with Cohen, that if he came back, we saw how this team improved throughout the year, that you then would start at the ending point, which was pretty damn good. I mean, they averaged 29.5 points a game. They ran the ball as well as anybody in the league. So I look at those 3 guys kind of as all the same. Dave Ragone is somebody that's played. He's been a quarterback's coach. He's with the Rams. He's the latest Rams guy. Any one of those guys could end up being their first choice. But they've only had 1 round of interviews. And so I think that they don't seem to be in a great hurry. Although you have other staffs forming, and some of them, including Thad Lewis, who could be a candidate inside, is interviewing for the Houston Texans job. So there is a little bit of competition for these guys. But I would say this, Liam Cohen called plays, at least at Kentucky. If you could ideally get a guy that's done that, that's been in that arena, and there's some guys with the Rams that have, and there's some that haven't. And we saw Dave Canales, who hadn't called plays since Carson High School in 2005, and he struggled. He really struggled. They managed to have a pretty good year record-wise, but still didn't improve the run game. So the schematics and somebody who's maybe confident in being in that position of calling plays, even the Bucs had guys that helped them on 3rd down and such. So I don't know where they're going to go. It seems like this is going to take a little bit of time, but there's no coincidence that they're targeting those Rams coaches. And really, as much as it is, you talk about the Rams, but you can go, all the way to Kyle Shanahan. That's really history, because that's who Sean McVay worked for in Washington, right? That's where all that came through. So yeah, it is but if you can hit on a guy like they did in Minnesota with a Kevin O'Connell, that's what you're looking for, right? And I think that's why Jacksonville was so intrigued by Liam Cohen, because they're hoping that he can be that kind of guy for them.
Yeah, think back to that Washington coaching staff with Matt LaFleur and Mike McDaniel on it.
Yeah.
I mean, just 4 freaking offensive geniuses. Rick, before I let you go, I just wanted to ask you about what the changes this team needs to make in the offseason, whether it's through the draft, through free free agency, or a trade. I mean, they got to put a lot of focus on the defensive side of the ball. Where do you think the priority is? Is it the pass rush? Is it a corner? Is it the interior linebacker spot? Because it just seems like, they got it, regardless of whether the coaching is going to be different. We know there's some changes with some of Todd's assistants. They got to infuse some more talent on that side of the ball.
Yeah, they do. I think defenses will be where they go, both in free agency and in the draft, and probably early and often. What they lack, Jay, is a real difference maker, a game wrecker, and that can come from a lot of positions. But I think no more important than an outside pass rusher. Yaya Diaby, when he was healthy and he's missed games, came on a little bit at the end of last year. It's great what they have inside, with Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey. I mean, those guys getting 14.5 sacks together is remarkable. Kancey missed a lot of time. But you've got to find a difference maker on defense, somebody that the defense has to pay attention to, that's going to get you 10, 12, maybe even 14 sacks a year. We know inside linebackers is a priority. We don't know what Levante David's going to do. He's been year to year now for a while. But even if he comes back, Savasier Dennis looks like that guy that could step up and be a better in coverage, and was playing some good football when he got hurt. But you're going to have to address the inside linebacker position, because you don't have a lot of depth there. KJ Britt's a free agent. And then defensive back, right? We saw last year they dispatched Carlton Davis. Jamel Dean might fall in that same category this year. A guy that's got talent, but he's been hurt a lot, doesn't make a lot of game-changing plays. So you gotta find another cover corner to go, with what they like in Zion McCallum. And then hope that Antoine Winfield Jr. bounces back. Look, he was their best player on defense a year ago, an all-pro, highest paid defensive player in the game. and he just never got on track. He got injured early, played about 7 or 8 or 9 games, I guess it was 9, and just never made a play after picking up a fumble and running it in from New Orleans. That was all I remember of his season. So if they can get him back, if they can get Jordan Whitehead to play good football, that would be huge. But a game wrecker that can put pressure on the quarterback, the rest of it, I think they'll be okay. Certainly they're good on offense.
Our guy Dolan says, Rick does do a great Gruden. I'll tell you what, man. I think it's the best Gruden impression. Frank Caliendo, a close second. And since we both know Frank, we can say that. And then Sports Day Tampa Bay podcast is great. Like Jay said, support local. Rick crushes it. Sports Day Tampa Bay. You hear Rick on it. Bunch of people around the Tampa Bay area. Our guy Steve Versnick as well. Again, support local, support the Tampa Bay Times, and follow Rick. Make sure whatever Rick is talking about and tweeting about, you guys follow him because he's got his finger on the pulse like no other. And he knows baseball too. I don't let people shortchange your baseball knowledge either, brother. At NFL Stroud on Twitter /X. Rick, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time. Enjoy the weekend, buddy.
Thanks for your patience, Jay. Good to be on.
You got it, pal. The one and only Rick Stroud, man. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. And that's the dedication to the craft. Driving 4 hours up to Jacksonville, to Duval County, to be able to see what the hell is going on with Liam Cohen up there. He had his hand up for 33 minutes, and they didn't pick on him. And he stayed there, and he made sure that he got the comments. He got the, Liam Cohen. Like, that's what it's all about. It's a beautiful thing. Snatch Buckler, Steve Spurrier, next OC, or dig up Bill Walsh and wheel him around like Weekend at Bernie's. Great movie. Let's see. Local, from sun up to, by the way, spend your money that way too, folks. Yeah, I mean, support local. We had this conversation, and I hope that everybody was able to tune in yesterday to the Beckles and Recher podcast with Ian Beckles and myself. Every Wednesday between 3 and 3:30 we go on. So that's an important thing, right? Supporting local, letting everybody know that we're here. And you may not think it's a big deal, that one subscription, but it is, man. I am telling you how important that is. We see it on every level, right? Like, when you see the Tampa Bay Times and you may think like, oh, nobody reads the paper. Like, that's not the point. These guys are out there. They're busting their ass. We know they don't travel as much as they used to, right? We know kind of what the situation is, right? Where everything is becoming more digital. Not as many people read newspapers anymore, but these guys are tweeting stuff out. TampaBay.com/sports. They have all things like, we got to support guys like this. We have to support the Encinas, the Topkins, the Strouds, the Romanos, the Colleen Wrights, everybody, man. Please do what you can. You may not think it's a big deal, but if you and 3, 4, 5 of your friends subscribe to the Tampa Bay Times, subscribe to lightninginsider.com with Eric Erlinson, it makes a difference. You may not think a subscription on YouTube means a lot to me, but it does. Over 1,000 subscribers, you can monetize your podcast. For somebody like me who just lost his job back in November, like, that shit means a lot. It does. I can't thank you guys enough, but we got to keep it going. You don't want people to look at Tampa as like a second-rate city. We don't support our local media. Like, it's important, man. It's important to support people here in Tampa Bay. Some breaking news here for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've recalled goaltender Matt Tompkins from AHL Syracuse as an option to dress tonight versus the Kings. Vasilevsky is a game-time decision, even though he participated in morning skate today. It was an illness, not an injury. So when you look at, you got to look at a situation of, you're playing again Saturday night. You only got a couple of more games before he gets 2 weeks off for the Four Nations. I saw Vasi out there, and he was stretching. Maybe Tompkins was a little bit more of a precaution more than anything. It'll be interesting. But this is why, again, you want to follow it. You want to follow local, and you want to do things like this because there's information like that. National writers aren't going to be able to tell you that Andre Vasilevsky was out here. National writers aren't going to tell you that Nikita Kucherov was out there, right? Where'd you guys subscribe? David Terry, Jeff Taylor, you guys subscribed last night to what? Lightning Insider? I hope it was Lightning Insider. Help my guy out, Eric Erlinson. Think about Eric. Think about the journeys that you have to take if you're not part of that, like, quote-unquote mainstream media. I got let go from iHeart in November. I could have sat on my ass, did nothing, and just bitched and moaned and hated on them. And no, man, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continue to do what I love and to bring you guys the best information here in the Tampa Bay area. But I got to get paid for my work, right? Like, so that's why subscribing, trying to sell some advertising. Like, I got to make a living, right? Same thing for lightninginsider.com. Like, you got to support Eric Erlinson. You can't be bitching and moaning when you can't get these newspaper articles online. Like, oh, you got to pay for a subscription. Like they need to support their families too, right? Like don't be short-sighted with things like that, and realize that you and some friends and family members, like that kind of stuff is so important. So important. So Ryan B, Drew Doughty is supposed to make a return to the Kings lineup tonight. Listen, Drew Doughty, I have long not been a fan of his at all because of something. And if you go back, Team Canada won the World Cup of Hockey. It probably was like a decade ago. And they were we got the Rink of Dreams in the background here. So like it was about a decade ago, there was the World Cup of Hockey. And it was after Drew Doughty lifted the Stanley Cup, after the Kings won both of their cups. And after Canada won, the guys were kind of carrying the trophy and hoisting it up like the cup. And you can tell that there were certain guys that were lifting the trophy. They never lifted the cup before. So to be able to represent their country and to be able to win that tournament, to be able to hoist the trophy meant a lot to them. But Drew Doughty looked at one of the players. I want to say it was like Mark-Edward Vlasic or somebody like that. And he looked at him like the high school bully. He looked at him like, dude, that's lame, dude. And I was just like, what a crappy thing to do. What a crappy thing to say to somebody. And he just stole the joy from that guy's face. And it stuck with me forever because people like that aren't worth the sticker on the bottom of my shoe. I hate that shit. I hate it. So then I'm sorry, like my opinion of him has just changed. I don't like things like that. I can't stand it. Not a fan at all. Make a t-shirt, JIBN. What would be on the J Recher t-shirt? The J Recher podcast? The J Recher podcast? That'd be pretty cool. Maybe I'll get some t-shirts going. That'd be pretty fun. Richie P, I'm gonna do this for you, Richie. I'm so local, I bleed cafe con leche and shit guava pastries from Alessi's. I like it, Richie. I like it. Alessi's is glorious. I wish I could have some right now. The J Recher podcast. I like that. Where to get the best Cuban sandwich in Tampa Bay? Sidebar, best Cuban sandwiches in Tampa Bay. There's actually some good places here in Amalie Arena. But I mean, where can you go wrong? There's so many good ones. Okay, let's play some of the audio from earlier today. If you missed it, this is Coach John Cooper after morning skate, and this is actually right after the video I just showed you guys about my shoes. But here's the information that John Cooper gave us a little while ago, just kind of the whole thing of Andrei Vasilevsky and what they got to focus on for tonight's game. I'll bring it up for you guys here in a second. Share the screen. All right, here we go. Here's John Cooper from earlier today.
How beneficial?
I know. See, like it's like you can't get away now.
How beneficial was it having a practice yesterday?
To get focused.
You got those?
I don't want to get that.
Nobody needs those. Well, we'll see. But it was. We competed really hard, and there was definitely focus. And players like to play games. They don't love to practice, but you could tell. Yesterday they were right into that, and they knew we needed a good practice. So it was. I don't know what the result's going to be tonight, but we were a better team after that practice than we were before.
Any lineup changes today?
Well, let's see what's going on with the goalie. That'll be a big one. So hopefully Vasilevsky is going to be good to go.
News came out today.
Game time decisions.
He named the captain of Team Sweden. How nice is that to be able to see your guy get recognized here?
Yeah, it's he deserves it. Again, Victor's been an ambassador not only for Tampa Bay Lightning but for Swedish hockey for a long time. So I don't think that was a surprise to anybody.
This will be Victor's 10th major international tournament for Sweden, including juniors and stuff like that, world championships. I mean, is that the experience that a guy might have internationally? How much does that speak to what he kind of does?
I don't know. It says that the number on his birth certificate's getting a little higher, just like all of us. No, it's well, like Victor's. I mean, he's elite at what he does. He's generational. I assume when he walks around Sweden, he's a well-known person there, and I just know that when they beat us in the World Championships in 2017, and just how beloved the team was and he was in that country, and so there's a lot of pride. And like I said, though, he's just a great, humble guy that hasn't forgotten his roots and carries himself extremely well. And like I said, what an ambassador for the sport.
Came out and calmed down Patty instantly. That was pretty impressive.
The chest bump.
More than that, he was. You would know all the dynamics of winning.
Yeah.
He was all business at that moment.
Yeah, there's no question. Anything else?
Yeah, the goals. You get the chances, and but lately there have been enough goals, as we talked about. No panic button yet. But how do you maintain the defensive integrity and structure that you want without letting these guys forget that?
Well, I think we have, to be honest. I think the situation of games when we've been behind and had to chase games has probably opened us up a little bit at times, but our defensive numbers have been good. It's unfortunate, the puck hasn't got on the net for us, but our chances have been there. I mean, the amount of chances we've had in the first 3 months of the season, the same ones we're getting now, we're just not putting them in. I will sit here and say we probably overachieved in some of our scoring the first 3 months of the year. Now we're probably underachieving a little bit, so it's somewhere we're in the middle, but we definitely have given ourselves opportunities, and if we keep getting those, they're eventually going to go in. It's if this was a 10-game season, I'd be concerned, but over 82, it's going to come back around.
And there you have it, John Cooper speaking after morning skate today here at Amalie Arena. You can hear the music in the background. It's time for the Rink of Dreams, where you can actually pay and come here and play hockey on the ice. So if you hear random horns in the background, that is exactly what you're going to be hearing. We have some breaking news here for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and we find out that Jonas Johansson is actually day-to-day with a lower body injury. I thought it was a little weird that he wasn't on the ice at all today. And once you saw the call-off for Matt Tompkins, I think you start wondering, all right, like, what's going on here? So the Bolts announced that Jonas Johansson listed as day-to-day with a lower body injury, and they've called up Matt Tompkins from Syracuse. Vazzy, I think he'll be back between the pipes today, but I think this may be a week or so, maybe 2 weeks or so, because if that was the case, like, maybe you keep the E-Bug Kyle Conan here and you let him do his thing, but Matt Tompkins recalled. He'll probably be on the bench tonight. I would think that Andrei Vasilevsky will be back between the pipes for the Bolts in that one. So now you know. That's another reason why you want to be able to be here on the J Recher podcast, because we are live here at Amalie Arena. Every single home game, I will be here with you. Victor Hedman spoke to the media today as well. Let's hear what Victor Hedman had to say. He got named the captain of Team Sweden for the Four Nations. We are so proud of Victor Hedman. Here's what he had to say.
Being named captain of Team Sweden, can you tell me how you found out?
Yeah, I've known for a couple months now, so wasn't really news to me, but no, it's a great honor, and had a good conversation with Sam, and obviously working together in the World Championships. So no, it's a great honor, and I'm very privileged to get the opportunity. I think the last time was under 18, so it's been a while. So that's going to be a great feeling to wear the C and putting on the blue and yellow.
How did you react to the news, as well as your family and the people closest to you?
No, obviously very happy. I don't know how many I told, to be honest, but I guess it's been so long. But but just tremendous, proud. I know how proud my family are, about the three counts, and my friends as well. That's all we knew pretty much growing up. So to be able to wear the C for your country and represent them on a big stage it's always fun. So yeah, I'm super excited for it.
Perhaps you're practicing now wearing the C for the Lightning, but is this a new challenge for you of sorts?
I mean, yeah, it's short tournament like that. You got to hit the ground running, and we don't have a whole summer and a whole training camp to kind of get ready for it. So yeah, there's a lot of guys that I haven't met before, and haven't been able to play with. So yeah, try to get to know them as soon as I can, and yeah, try and just be there for for one another, and yeah, make sure we hit the ground running. That's for sure.
You know how close you and Eric are over the years. Remember the All-Star game here? How nice is it to be able to be a part of that leadership part with him?
Yeah, I mean, we practiced a little bit in both championships where he was the captain. So, for us to be on this ride together, it's always fun. And every time we get the opportunity to play together, it's we really embrace that. So, but it's not just us. You got Ekholm and Willie helping out as well. So that'll be great. I think. Obviously with the group that we have a phenomenal team, and yeah, I can't wait to get that going.
You mentioned developing relationships with your teammates for Team Sweden. Victor, how can you go about doing that now? Are there phone calls? Are you trying to see guys before or after games?
Yeah, a little bit of combination. We got a group chat, that we started yesterday, and you don't want to bother guys too much either because everyone is so busy with games, every single night and different time zones. So you don't want to be bombarding everyone, but I think it's good to get a chain going so everyone has their numbers, and they'll meet up, or everyone is meeting up on Sunday, but we play on Sunday, but we'll get together on Sunday and go from there.
There you go. The one and only Victor Hedman. How great is it to be able to have a guy like that? And I'm posting my video, if you didn't see it already, the Coach Cooper reaction to my shoes. It's just so crazy. I feel like we should play it again. Should I play it again? I'll play it one more time. For those of you who just missed it, you're just joining us today, because there's so many people that are hitting me up right now. Coach Cooper's reaction to my shoes. Hold on, one more time. We'll play it for you guys. Coop, there's just there's nobody like John Cooper. Here you go. Rewind it. There we go.
That's that. Yeah, that was like.
Always responsible for your state.
Jen, you had a practice in yesterday. You talked about the value of those. How was it getting that kind of?
I mean, that's Coop for you, man. There's nobody like that guy. I swear to God, he's nuts. And the funny thing about it is that Coop has actually he's one of the few people that actually saw these shoes last year, and he got down on his hands and knees at the sneaker soiree and forced his wife to take a picture so he gets sent it to the kids. He's a trip. So they're actually playing the national anthem right now. Oh, Sonia Bryson. I feel bad doing the show. All right. Can you guys hear the national anthem? I feel like, all right, I'm not going to speak because I feel like this is respect. USA, USA, USA. I mean, does it get better than Sonia Bryson Kirksey? That's one of the greatest things about going to a game here at Amalie Arena, is to be able to hear her do the national anthem. Like, you want to go out there and play, you want to run through a freaking brick wall after you hear that. And yes, Richie P, I hope her mom is doing better. Guys, gals, do whatever it takes to share the link that I put on social media many times for Miss Sonia Bryson Kirksey and her mom. We've been trying to get her to raise $10,000. We got it to 7. She's at 83.20, 83% of their goal. We're trying to get up to 10,000. So if you can do whatever it takes, go to her Twitter, Sonny Sings, SONNI Sings, and share that. Do whatever you can. They're about $1,680 away from their $10,000 goal. Man, every little bit helps. And another, support local, right? Support local. And I don't know if we have a better representative of our area than Sonia Bryson Kirksey. She, and I'm with you, Lady Evil, she is so amazing. Every time you see Miss Sonia Bryson, I mean, you just feel like you're a better person. You really do. So live from Amalie Arena here. If you missed our interview with Rick Stroud, it'll be up on our page a little while ago. Richie says, wow, that was great. I think whenever you first mentioned on the show, she was $800. By the way, I gave. Thank you, Richie. Keep that going. From 800 to now, we're getting closer to 10,000. We got to help her out and do whatever we can. Rich Hollenberg is going to join us in about 14 minutes or so to talk about the Tampa Bay Rays, to talk about some college hoops as well. I got to be honest. The news came out yesterday with the Tampa Bay Rays, and they reportedly bring in Ha-Seong Kim, a former Gold Glove winner, 2-year deal. He's got a shoulder injury. He's not going to be available until May. Mark Topkin, again, posted this yesterday. He called it a bold move to improve their lineup. The deal contingent on a physical expected in the next week. It'll pay him a team-high $13 million for this season with an additional $2 million in incentives based on plate appearances. He'll get $16 million in 2026. It also has the right to opt out of the second year of the deal and return to free agency. I mean, listen. Can he help the Rays? He's got a phenomenal glove. He's a really good base runner. Finished 14th in the National League MVP voting a couple of years ago when he was batting .260, 17 home runs. Last year he was .233 with a 700 OPS. Do I think he's more like 2023 or 2024? I think 2024. This is a guy that was hitting in a lineup a couple of years ago. Let's not forget, he was hitting in a lineup 2 years ago with Juan Soto, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, and Fernando Tatis Jr. He's not going to be hitting in that same lineup with the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm sorry. This is another one of those deals where on paper, you look at it and go, what does this mean for a guy like Taylor Walls? You got another light-hitting middle infielder that can pick it. That's great. And now he's making more money than anybody. So there's a lot of people out there when they look at the Rays in these deals, they've kind of earned the benefit of the doubt over the years where, all right, they've done all these different things and certain guys have worked out, certain guys have not worked out, but a lot of these under the radar moves seem to work out in their favor. But guys, I don't know, man. I'm excited for the season. I'm excited for the pitching staff, but they need more bats. They need more guys that are going to be able to put the ball in play and hit the ball hard. I mean, you look at his exit velocity. That's another thing. People say, well, his exit velocity isn't great. Like, you know, he may be a darling when it comes to sabermetrics, but if you can't hit the ball hard, what the hell does that mean? I mean, why did you bring back? I mean, you're going to arbitration with Taylor Walls. We know he's a really good defender. He's a switch hitter. What does that mean for him? These guys are stopgaps for Carson Williams, but what are we waiting for? Get Carson Williams up here. You know, you wait on these young players and they marinate in AAA and they marinate, and then they come up. Are they good? Are they worth it? I mean, outside of Adames, outside of Franco, outside of guys like maybe Randy and who else? Junior Caminero. Like these other guys, like what benefit are they getting staying down in AAA? Get them up here, man. I'd rather Carson Williams take his lumps with the big club than still do his thing at AAA. Like, what are we waiting on? I don't get that. I understand the clock and things like that, but you're going to get rid of the guys anyway. He's 21 years old. If he's that good, bring him up here. Let's start the clock. You want to get more people invested in the product. You want to get more people excited. Well, let's not have these guys spend freaking 5 years on these prospect lists. Get Junior up, get Carson Williams up. Give me a starting infield of Yandy Diaz, Brandon Lau, Carson Williams, and Junior Caminero. All right, now we're cooking. Now we're working with something. Danny Jansen behind the plate, Josh Lowe in right. All right, now we're working. Now we look like we were a team that can make some noise, right? But if you keep with these stopgaps and these guys where you're banking on offensive production. Listen, his ceiling was a couple of years ago when he batted 270. That was his ceiling. His average is around 240. I get it. And I know Rich Hollenberg is going to come on at 1:00 and he's going to probably think it was a great deal. And he's like, the Rays have earned the benefit of that. I get that, man. But you can say that the Rays have done a really good job when it comes to developing their pitchers, but hitting, they haven't been able to do the same thing. They've had to sacrifice. Why? I just don't understand why that's the case for the Rays. How come the hitting has to come at the sacrifice of defense? Why can't they get a guy that's maybe he's not a 5-tool guy, but maybe he's a 3-tool guy, a 4-tool guy? Get those guys before they turn into, $180 million guys. Like, we'll see. I still think the Rays need to get better. I still think they need to bring more bats in. Yeah, it's great that they're bringing in a guy that can pick and he won't be here till May. It was the same thing. This is the same thing they did last year with Jose Caballero. And I told you last year, Jose Caballero, really good fielder, not a great shortstop. I don't trust that he's the answer long term. And just remember that. And I want you to remember the things that the Rays let us tell us before the season, and then what happens during the season. No blind faith here. Be an independent thinker. Who was the catcher last year before the season? Anybody remember his name? Because everybody here in the Tampa Bay area was telling us that this guy, who was a career backup and a guy that was splitting time, was going to be the everyday catcher for the Tampa Bay Rays. Do you remember his name? We'll see if anybody will comment with his name. I remember it. But midway through the season, we didn't see Rene Pinto. I beat you guys to it. It was a split of Ben Rortvedt. You got Rortvetted. I like that you go out and get Danny Jansen. Try to make sure that it's like one guy. Okay, that's good. But the sacrifice that this team makes for being able to hit the ball and put the ball in play, like, they've got to do something. There's got to be some kind of correction here. And I'm not even necessarily talking about with the big club. This is something the minor leagues. This comes to the drafting and the scouting and the drafting and developing. Like, they got to have more bats in the organization, up and down. We talk about it with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers about how they need more players on the defensive side of the ball, right? That's what they should be focusing here in the 2025 offseason. Get defenders. Get guys that are going to be able to keep the other teams out of the end zone, pick up turnovers, accentuate the strengths in this Todd Bowles defense. Well, the Rays, they do such a good job of these reclamation projects, whether it's, these veterans that are either starters or relievers. And we've seen it. Seen the Zach Littells. We've seen who was the guy a couple of years ago? Jake Diekmans. You get these guys off the scrap heap. They bring them in and they're phenomenal. Why can't they do that offensively? I know it's harder because it's a game of failure. But how many guys have the Rays been able to rescue off of the scrap heap like they do on the pitching side and be able to turn the guy into a big hitter? Something's got to give. Something's got to give when it comes to the Rays. And I just hope it gets better sooner rather than later. I want to make sure that we show some love here before we get to our guy, Rich Hollenberg. Just an absolute tragic story last night when 14 members of the figure skating community were passengers on an American Airlines jet that collided with an Army helicopter near Ronald Reagan National Airport and crashed into the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. So sad. When you see situations like this, I mean, first off, you start thinking like, man, you're so scared to fly, right? but how many flights do we all take, right? God, your heart goes out to them. And when you see the entire world come together and to show their love, it just, you never know, man. You just never know what's going to happen in your life. And you never know when it could be your last day. So situations like this, don't let it scare you from flying and scare you from traveling and scare you from doing things. But just let it be a reminder that life is short and you just never know when your number is called. So get rid of those grudges, right? Call somebody that you haven't called in a long time. Text somebody you haven't texted in a long time. Don't harbor those ill feelings or ill will. Life is too short, man. It's gone in an instant. And when you see young kids losing their lives, and you go back to one of the most tragic things, we just saw the 5-year anniversary of it a couple of days ago, was the Kobe Bryant thing with Gigi and their team. And it still doesn't seem real. You still see videos of Kobe and these highlight packages, and we still talk about him like he's here with us. And I don't think he'll ever leave, but it's so surreal, man. And it's so, like, it resonates with you, because I think as the older you get, unfortunately, we do become a little bit more jaded, because we all experience loss. Nobody goes their entire life, if you've lived for decades, of not having a loved one pass on, or knowing somebody that passed on, or knowing somebody that has a loved one that passed on. So when we get so upset about certain things, especially when we're talking about sports, let's make sure we keep things in perspective. And when you think back to what happened last night with this unfortunate accident, life comes at you quickly. And it's very, very important to keep perspective. And I go back to what we spoke about on Monday here on the Jay Recher podcast with the Washington Commanders fans that were harassed and just belittled, and just so much terrible speech thrown their way. Just, they weren't they weren't trying to fight anybody. They knew they were in hostile enemy territory there in Philadelphia. And these people, just the things that were coming out of their mouth towards these fans, gosh, it's just sports, right? I know fan is short for fanatic, but let's keep things in perspective here. I mean, we're going to see some opposing fans here tonight. We'll see some Kings here at the Lightning game. Like, it's sports, man. It's an escape from reality. We're having fun. But if your fun is coming at the expense of somebody else, you just really need to take a look in the mirror and kind of recalibrate what's important to you. My dad's like that. My dad, big time sports fan, college basketball player, baseball player, played hockey, like one of the best athletes that I ever saw, like incredible. I wish I was half the athlete that he was. When he was 40, 45, my dad got to the point of, why am I getting so upset? Why am I getting so upset the Yankees didn't win, or the Knicks didn't win, or the Giants didn't win? Like Eli Manning and Derek Jeter aren't struggling to go to sleep at night because Doug Recher freaked out about the loss. Doug Recher's upset, man. I don't know how I'm going to continue on. And for him, like, he can kind of take it or leave it now. He spends time golfing and out in the garden and with all of his grandkids. Like, he put it in perspective. Why am I getting so upset? And I feel like for me, I need to continue to do a better job of that as well. Making sure I realize, like, there's things that are more important than work. There's things that are more important than sports. So take that trip, make that phone call, because I think at times sports fans more than anything need to take a step back and adjust their reality a little bit and just realize that it's fun. It's fun. We're all here together. We're all going to have our ups and our downs. It doesn't mean you can't get upset. But at the end of the day, don't let it affect your life. Let's be grateful and let's be thankful that we're all here together and enjoying sports, because there is a lot of great things going on in the sports world. All right. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a very long time. He is all over the place. He's traveling all around the country, doing so many great things. The one and only Rich Hollenberg joins us on the program. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
With the best dressed media member in Tampa Bay, I can't be better, Jay. It's good to see you, buddy.
Did you see my shoes?
Of course I didn't, but I'm not surprised. Oh my goodness gracious. Soiree, man. Bring them out.
Tomorrow night, I got a different pair. These are from last year. Sarah Walsh was giving me grief about them. It's so funny. And yeah, when we're done here, go on my social media and check John Cooper's reaction to my shoes. He actually took my camera and filmed me today. It was hilarious. Good stuff. Rich, I know you're a busy man. You're traveling all across the country. We'll talk college hoops here in a bit, but initial reaction of the big news for the Rays yesterday, bringing in Ha-Seong Kim, 2-year deal, $29 million. We know we can pick it, but we also know he's not going to be available till May. Standard Rays move, isn't it?
I mean, in every sense of the word, Jay. I mean, you're getting a really good guy at not a terrible value. I mean, obviously he's going to be one of the highest paid Rays on the roster, but the fact that he was hurt and had that shoulder injury and that shoulder surgery, and that's going to keep him out until hopefully not much longer than May, was certainly one of the reasons that the Rays were able to jump in and make this deal. And it shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. The thing I love about him is, of course, he's going to be solid, if not spectacular, defensively. The Rays put such a high price tag and value on that, especially from the shortstop position, hence sticking around with Taylor Walls despite his offensive struggles.
Right.
But the fact is that if you read what people in San Diego were saying about Ha-Seong Kim, he was a fan favorite there. They loved him in his 3 years there. So I think the fit in the clubhouse and the fit on the field could not be better for a Rays team that is looking, at least right now, with everybody being relatively healthy, save for Kim coming back a little bit later than opening day. This is about as deep a Rays roster as we've seen talent-wise in a few years. And that's really good news for Rays fans.
Our guy Rich Hollenberg joining us, FanDuel Sports Network for the Rays on ESPN College Basketball. They're actually playing Bruce Springsteen here. I'm doing my show at Amalie Arena, Rich, on during home games. I was able to.
Brother.
I'm everywhere. I'm like you. I'm trying to follow in your footsteps, my man. But they had Bruce on before, and I was like, this is so perfect with Rich coming on today that they have Bruce Springsteen playing in the background. Who are some of the other position players? We'll talk about the pitchers in a second. Who are some of the other position players that you're excited to see in 2025?
You know what, Jay? I'm really excited up the middle. I'm excited that Danny Jansen's part of this team. I'm excited that Johnny DeLuca is going to get a chance to be an everyday center fielder. The spine of that defense is so crucial and so critical to every baseball team, but especially to the Rays, who put so much stock in run prevention. I think we have a chance to have a really exciting year that way. I've always felt, regardless of the knocks that he takes because of his inability to stay healthy and the fits and starts that he has swinging the bat, I've always felt that Brandon Lau is an underrated second baseman defensively. So up the middle, I think we have a chance to be really exciting. I'm excited to see how those players fit in. Again, Johnny DeLuca showed flashes last year, but now they're essentially giving him the ball and saying, you're our center fielder. Obviously Josh Lowe could play there.
Mm-hmm.
He came up as a prospect, as a center fielder, and it was really exciting. But I think they're counting on his bat a little bit too much now. He'll be a corner outfielder and a DH for the most part. So that's, heading into spring training, that's certainly where my eyeballs are going to be.
Rich, how about the guy in Junior Caminero? He just wins the MVP down there, hits the monster home run, breaking the scoreboard for Escogido in Game 7. I mean, this guy, listen, there's been some exciting prospects, but just kind of the raw power that he has. And I just think he didn't look overmatched at all last year. Like, you're going to have your up and downs, but he looked like a major league ball player last year when they called him up. I mean, what's his ceiling for his first full year with the Tampa Bay Rays in 2025?
I think he's got all-star potential. I think a lot of that's going to rely and depend upon the protection he gets in the lineup. They're not asking for everything from him. Is he going to be a 3,100 guy? Probably not in his first full year. But then again, would we all be shocked if he ended up hitting 30, 32 home runs? No, he's got that kind of bat skill. I just think you can't underestimate how valuable it will be for Junior to break with the club right out of spring training. This is going to be the first time we're seeing that from him. And I just can't wait. The energy that he brings on the field, in the clubhouse, the youthful exuberance, and yet you marry that with what you just said, the fact that he looks every bit a seasoned veteran when he's out there. And I also love the fact that, he knew he had to work on his defense, and he was out there every damn day working on his ground ball skills. So you pencil him in to the lineup at third base, and now all of a sudden you're looking at a fairly rock solid roster for the Rays 1 through 9. They're going to lean on their versatility. They manage their 25-man roster as well, if not better than anybody in baseball. So there's going to be changes. There's going to be shifts in the lineup and in the roster. Kevin Cash rarely puts out the same 1 through 9 from one game to the next. So we're used to that. But I think in terms of consistency, again, using that dreaded H word, should everybody remain relatively healthy, I think we're going to see the most consistent Rays lineup that we've seen in a long time.
Rich, what about the pitchers, man? Just give me a starter that you're excited to see. There's
Shane
so many of them.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's an
Shane.
embarrassment of riches. This could be a special year because of that. Look, I think the way that this is scripting out to be, this could be a season for the ages, a season that we will talk about 50 to 100 years from now. I mean, could you imagine if the Rays make the playoffs or, God forbid, win the AL East, or, God forbid, make a run to the World Series, given the circumstances, playing at Steinbrenner Field, dealing with the hurricanes, dealing with the stadium nonsense? This could be a storybook year for the Tampa Bay Rays, and it starts with that starting pitching. I think the bullpen's going to be great. I think, like I just said, the offense has a chance to be really successful and consistent. But, man, keep these guys healthy and manage them correctly, which Kevin Cash and Kyle Snyder and Eric Neander are going to do. This starting rotation has a chance to be lights out, possibly like Atlanta Braves early 90s good, when you're talking Smoltz and Maddox and Glavine, and the list goes on, because they even have enough depth with their starters to cover for somebody who goes down with an injury. You know it's going to happen.
Right.
You don't know how effective Shane's going to be. Is he going to be a 200-inning guy? All of those questions will play themselves out during the regular season. But all I know is, on paper right now, given what we've seen in the past, this has a chance to be a special, if not historic, starting five for the Tampa Bay Rays, if not a starting six.
Yeah. Rich, what about you guys? I mean, you and Doug and the entire crew, there's a consistency. The one thing I love about baseball, I say it's the heartbeat of America, where it's just there's a consistency. Whether the Rays win 10-0 or lose 10-0, you guys get up the next day and you travel and you get ready for the pregame show. We walk by, we say hello, you do all your hits, you get ready to go. But it's going to be different for you guys this year too, man. How exciting is that to kind of know that you're not going to be going to the same old office that you've been going to the last couple of years?
Well, exciting is one way to put it. I think that's putting a really positive spin on it. And I guess technically, Jay, you are breaking news on the Jay Recher podcast, because I haven't said this publicly yet, but Doug and I are back, and it is official. I don't know if that has been made official yet, but I'm making it official right now. We're both under contract for another year, so we are thrilled beyond belief that we're going to be back, but it will be different. The broadcast will be different. The pre and post game shows will be different. The sidelines will be different. We're dealing with a lot of changing times and a lot of uncertainty on the TV side, on the streaming side, on the linear side of things. So, I mean, I have to be excited for it, because I'm back with people who I love working with. Doug and I, over the course of the better part of a decade, have been shoulder to shoulder with each other for the overwhelming majority of Rays games during this incredible 5-6 year run that they've been on. So it's really not work for me when I get to work with one of my closest friends and get to cover a team that you really deeply, genuinely care about and care for. But it will be a different year, that's for sure. I'm trying to follow what I preach to my children and the upcoming sportscasters who I mentor. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. That is going to be my mantra coming into this year.
Rich, I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit because you were one of the first people that I reached out to as I started making my transition into doing more play-by-play for USF and baseball and softball. And you were always so gracious with your time like you are today. But to be able to see what you're doing for this next kind of wave of young broadcaster, break in, break through. I love it. I love it. And to be able to see these people connect, I see you reposting some of these pictures of these students that you have, and they connect all around the country. It really is. It's not this like many other businesses. It's not what you know, it's who you know, right? And you just never know who you're going to cross paths with. Just tell us where we're at when it comes to break in, break through, how people can look into that if they have youngsters out there that are aspiring broadcasters, because you really are setting them up for success in a job that we all love doing.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, Jay. That goes straight to my heart. This is my legacy. No one's going to remember the college basketball games that I called or the pre and post game shows that I've hosted through the years in my career. But hopefully, if things keep trending in the direction they're trending in, and right now we're close to 200 alumni who've come through the Break-In and Breakthrough program, hopefully this is what I'll be remembered for. I know when I was on the come up 30 years ago coming out of college, I stood on the shoulders of some people who are now the giants of the industry of sportscasting. And I know I wouldn't be there without their support. But I also know I made a ton of mistakes on the way. And part of what I wanted to do when I started this program 3 years ago was to help give a realistic picture of what the industry is like and the sacrifices that are demanded when you want to be successful as a sportscaster, whether it's play-by-play, hosting, anchoring, or sideline reporting. I've done all of those disciplines and continue to do them. It's not always, chocolate and lollipops out there. There's a ton of sacrifices that are required of you. And so I want to paint as realistic a picture of what it's like to be a sportscaster in this day and age for all these up-and-comers, and teach them some things that I wasn't taught in college and that no one shared with me until I had to learn through the School of Hard Knocks. My school is the way. You don't have to go through some of those hard knocks, although there's going to be bumps in the road. Path to success is never a straight line.
Right.
So if I can help in any small way the next generation of sportscasters, I love it.
Yeah, you bring up a great point, because people look at it, and I think you're the same way of me, of like, we're not out there digging ditches in 100-degree heat, right? We're not making, we're not acting like what we're doing is we're not comparing it to anything else, but there is a lot of commitment. There are ups and downs. You miss birthdays, you miss holidays, you miss your kids' games. Like, it's sacrifices that you have to do this profession. There's a lot of long hours. There's a lot of times where you're looking at somebody that, you look to the next year, be like, man, this is a 14-hour workday, and then we got to do it right back again tomorrow. But yeah, it's you do such a fantastic job, and again, very grateful to call you not only a colleague but a friend. I want to talk some college hoops with you before I let you go. I saw a video last night with Jimmy Boeheim, and it was old school Big East. And as a kid that grew up watching St. John's and Syracuse and Georgetown and Villanova, like the Big East basketball, there's nothing compares to that, right? And now, like, I was watching some hoops last night, the SEC right now, it's just amazing to see what Tennessee did the other day against Auburn. And then I'm like, wow, they really did a good job of holding them. They have 4 losses this year in conference. I mean, the SEC led, obviously lead the way is Bruce Pearl. But my goodness, Rich, it just seems like every time you look up, there's another SEC team in the top 25, and they're bashing each other's brains in. Like, it is nuts.
Yeah, Jay Billis was just recently quoted as saying he thinks winning the SEC tournament is going to be harder than winning the NCAA tournament.
It might, yeah.
It's an historic year for the SEC. I got a taste of it this past week. My bosses let me do a Georgia basketball game so I can visit with my children who are UGA
Nice.
students, and it becomes a family reunion. So that's great. But, even though I cover the Big 12, and the Big 12 is still a gauntlet
Mhm.
of a roster of teams to have to go through each and every season during conference play. But this is an historic season for the SEC. Not so much because of the good teams. I mean, Auburn is Final Four good.
Right.
Certainly Tennessee, Florida, and Alabama, you could put in that group as well. And I don't think any other conference has as many teams that could compete at that level for a Final Four right now at that point. But the floor of the SEC is so high compared to the floor of some of these other conferences.
Right.
I covered a Georgia team that's probably going to make the NCAA tournament. They came off 4 straight losses. They beat a South Carolina team that last year was the darling of the SEC, came out of nowhere.
Right.
They are 0-8 in the SEC this year. So if that's the floor for the SEC, that's much better than most of the other conferences in America. I just think that all the stars have aligned for the SEC. They've got fantastic coaching. They put a lot of time and a lot of money and funding into making it what it is now. And I only say this half jokingly that the SEC, believe it or not, sports fans, is a basketball conference more than it is a football conference. Look at who we had in the NCAA football
Mhm.
championship
Yes,
game.
sir.
No SEC schools, but this year I would be shocked if you didn't see at least one, if not 2, SEC teams in the Final Four.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. It may be more. You don't know because you said like that those trials and tribulations these SEC teams are going through this year, that could help them right down the stretch. It could help them because when all you got to do is survive in advance when it gets to come playoff time. Tell me about Iowa State, man. 17-2. They seem to be firing another. Obviously we keep a close eye on them on the football side because our guy Anthony Beck, Tampa's own, Rocco being the quarterback there. But what do you see from the Cyclones this year? It seems like, for all the teams and all the talk about the Big 12, and I still near and dear to my heart, I still think Texas and Oklahoma are there. So I always have to check myself. They're SEC now. But we know Kansas and Bill Self, and that's, one of the longest tenure coaches in the game. But what do you see from Iowa State? What makes them so special?
Their culture is bulletproof. I put them and Houston at the top of the heap. Obviously, Arizona just had that thrilling win in Tucson against Iowa State, and that's going to happen. I mean,
Right.
Picking off teams like that in conference play is going to happen. No one's going to run the gauntlet in these types of conferences, the SEC, the Big 12. But I think that Iowa State and Houston in particular have everything you need to be an NCAA championship caliber team. They've got incredible coaching. They've got incredible culture. They have veteran guards, and they have capable bigs as well. So you asked me specifically about Iowa State. I've covered them more than anybody this year, but second to that is Houston. I have Houston on Saturday. I'm traveling out tomorrow for that game, and they're playing a really good Texas Tech team. Houston has a 33-game home win streak and an 18-game Big 12 regular season win streak. This is a team that has one transfer that they brought in and had to indoctrinate this year. Most other teams are dealing with 4 and 5 transfers trying to get them to buy into the culture. Kelvin Sampson brought one guy in. Now, granted, he had to replace arguably the best player in college basketball last year in Jamal Shead.
Yeah.
But all Milos Uzan has done as the replacement at point guard is win National Player of the Week award last week for his performance in Lawrence, Kansas when they beat KU in double overtime. So Houston, their culture, their defense is very, very similar to Iowa State's. I think that travels. I don't think other teams around the country are familiar and comfortable playing that with that kind of physicality in their face for 40 minutes. So you say it could be more teams than 1 or 2 in the Final Four for the SEC. I think Houston and Iowa State in particular would have something to say about that. If it's those two teams and pick two teams from the SEC, I think we're talking about epic clashes come San Antonio in early April.
Oh my God, how great would that be? I mean, just I'm excited for this, like down the stretch. I love tournament time, and we get closer and closer. I have like a love-hate with it because it means it's the end of the season, right? It means you're getting great basketball, great matchups, but it also means like, damn it, man, we're coming to the end of the season. And watch out for Emmanuel Sharp too, guy from right in our backyard, went to Bishop McLaughlin. So
he's dealing with a nasty ankle and foot injury.
Is he going to play?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure he's going to be listed as day-to-day.
Yeah,
I'll find out, tomorrow when I, get boots on the ground in Houston and talk to their coaching staff a little bit. But they're going to have to start looking long-term. And there are no easy outs in the Big 12. The last 5 games for Houston are ridiculously tough. They're playing Iowa State. They're playing Kansas. They're playing Baylor. The beat goes on and on. But then you look at the 2 weeks prior to their final 5 games coming up now, they have 22nd ranked Texas Tech coming up on Saturday, coming into their home gym.
Mm-hmm.
And all Texas Tech has done is won 5 in a row, 7 of their last 8, and they beat their last 4 opponents by double digits. So they're clicking on all cylinders too. No easy outs. It's going to be a tough call to try and keep Emmanuel Sharp on the bench, trying to save him and keep him healthy for that home stretch, because he is a warrior. He might be all of basketball. And oh, by the way, he might also be the best shooting guard in all of college basketball. He's putting Steph Curry-like numbers up. He's 44% from the field. He's 44% from 3, and he's 93% from the line. It's been a fabulous season for Tampa's Emmanuel Sharp.
All right, before I let you go, I got to ask you about my team. When I was 6 years old, I went in and I got this blue soda. It was a blue Pepsi soda, and it was from Duke's championship team. And 35 years ago is when I was indoctrinated. Nobody else, none of my friends, not my mom and dad. It was the first team I could pick as a little kid, and I was full bore with Leitner and Reddick and all that stuff. And I've gone through the first, the first round losses over the years. And I've seen big-time players, the Jabari Parkers, Okafors, Zions, all these different guys. But this kid, Cooper Flagg, there is something about his game, Rich, where he doesn't freak out. I saw it early in the season where the game sped up for him at the end. But you've seen him over the last couple of weeks, and you go, I don't know how people can stop him one-on-one. And his ability to pass out of the double team just gets better every single week. I mean, the ability for them to go from Coach K to John Shire and to bring in a guy like Cooper Flagg from Maine, like, what do you make from Duke? I know you don't see him every day because you're with the Big 12, but what kind of factor do you think they could be down the stretch?
I certainly think they're one of the handful of teams that right now, if you had to choose like who can win a national championship, I would say there's still 8 to 10 teams who I think have a legitimate shot to win a national title. Duke is right in there. And Cooper Flagg is the biggest reason. But because of that, and I agree and I co-sign on everything you just said, but at the same time, to have to rely on someone who should be a senior in high school right now to carry you to a national championship, I think that may be asking too much. That's not to say he doesn't have tremendous talent around him. He does. But when you look at the certain boxes that traditionally you have to check in order to be a championship team, Duke compared to Houston, Iowa State, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, those would be the 5 right now. I think they might be one notch below those 5 teams. Keep in mind, last I checked, and you would have to fact check me on this, Ken Pom measures offensive and defensive efficiency. Mm-hmm. It has been a long-standing hallmark of Final Four teams to be in the top 10 in both of those categories. Last time I checked, only Duke and Iowa State are the 2 teams, and Houston, 3 teams, who are in the top 10 in offensive and defensive efficiency. So if you follow those kind of analytics and those kind of metrics, Duke's got as good a chance as anybody.
Yeah, it's a great point. And you said it before. And that's why I really like Alabama with Mark Sears. They brought in Chris Youngblood from the USF. It's those veteran backcourts. And now with so many guys being one and done, the reason why we remember Carmelo Anthony and Anthony Davis is because they're few and far between, with, freshmen being the best players on the team, leading their team to national championships. All right, courses.richhollenberg.com. All the information on there, break in and break through. You can catch them. ESPN, the big matchup this weekend between Houston and Texas Tech. Is it in Lubbock or Houston?
Oh, it's in Houston.
All right.
And more breaking news for you, Jay Recher, and I'm hoping I will see you here. I got a home game coming up, USF hosting Temple.
Nice.
I'm going to be on the call with Coach Tom Crean. I want to see you at the Yingling Center, Recher.
Oh my gosh, I will definitely be there. I want to, of course, see you, but I definitely want to meet Tom Crean. We've kind of traded messages back and forth because he was a mentor to the late great Amir Abdur-Rahim, and Amir was a good pal of mine. So, oh my gosh, I can't wait. That's so awesome. I cannot wait.
It's going to be a really special night. There are some special things planned for that night too. So for any of you watching and listening right now who are Bulls fans, you're going to want to get a ticket to that game.
Unbelievable. The great Rich Hollenberg, ESPN, FanDuel Sports Network. Rich, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your mentorship, your friendship. Keep up the great work. Back to the statistics to get ready for the broadcast this weekend, my brother. I appreciate you, man. Talk soon.
All right. Take care, Jay. Thanks.
You got it. The number one Bruce Springsteen fan I know, the great Rich Hollenberg on the program. Breaking news. There you have it. We got Rich. We got Doug back. We also got Rich Hollenberg and Tom Crean on the call for the USF Temple matchup. Wow. This is why you're here on the Jay Recher podcast. We have it here for you. Follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube. If you didn't see the video yet of Coach Cooper's reaction to my shoes, it already has 6,300 views on Twitter and over 200 likes. I'm a glutton for punishment and a glutton for the Los Angeles Kings players were making fun of me before, screaming out, "What are those?" Darren Radish was yelling at me. Nikita Kucherov and Andrei Vasilevsky just ignored me. But that's just the way it goes. Sorelli and Pointer, they give you the, "Whoa, all right, here we go." Paul Kennedy, everybody's, it's a fun time here at Amalie Arena. And if you hear some of the action going on in the background, it is the Rink of Dreams going on right now. The horn will buzz in about 15 seconds or so. 5-2, the away team. How great would that? I don't think I've been on the ice. It was after the first or second Stanley Cup, but I've never skated on the ice before. I keep trying to put that information in there. Can we get a media game? Can we do something? Because Brian Breesman, one of the main PR guys, or the main PR guy for the Lightning, I know that he suits up in goal every once in a while during training camp when they're missing guys. I just want to go down and score on him. I want to shoot high over the glove, and I want him to realize that I got some skills. So I want to go out there. I want to shoot a couple pucks against Brian Breesman, and I'm hoping that next year when the outdoor game, the Stadium Series game, comes to Tampa Bay, that we're able to skate on the rink maybe after the game. They're probably not going to let us do it before the game because they don't know what the ice is going to be like there at Ray J in February. But, man, I am going to continuously put it out there to let people know I would love to be on the rink. I would love to be on the ice with my people because we have such a good time here in the Tampa Bay media. Let's bring him in half of a minute early because we do that here on the Jay Recher podcast. It's our guy, Eduardo Encina. Eduardo. Did you change your name from Eddie to Eduardo?
No, my name's always been Eduardo.
No, I mean on the screen on the.
No, it's always been Eduardo.
Really?
That's my byline. So here's the thing. If you know me as Ed, you probably know me very casually as we interact and stuff like that. Eduardo is my byline, so that's how I know that people read my stuff.
I got it.
And then Eddie is basically what my parents used to call me when I was a kid. So if you know me way back in the day, you probably know me as Eddie. And then there's Eddie in the Yard, which is my Twitter handle X handle, whatever you want to call it these days.
I'm still
But
staying with Twitter.
Which I've kept over the years from my baseball days.
So what do I call you?
I don't know, Jay. What do you call me?
I call you Big Oos. What up, Oos? We just go in the press box and just start throwing up the ones in the press box. You know what's so
Jay,
funny?
Are you in a suite right now?
I am in Suite 71 at Amalie Arena. This is going to be my new home. So if you're ever here and you don't go home between morning skate and the games, you can just come up here and do it.
I didn't know
So
you
yeah,
were
this-
sticking around. I just saw everyone can see you coming. Everyone could see you coming today. So when I looked around and I didn't see any bright lights, I thought you were gone.
Here we go, buddy. The special lights for you. Ting, ting, ting. This is how we roll. This is how we bring Eddie. Oh, they're running out of battery. That means I got to charge them. That's what you got to do.
Charge them?
Yeah, this the little thing right here is to put the little USB thing right here.
Don't be going like socks on us in the first intermission tonight or something like that.
Nah, no, I know, right? I'm gonna have to. I was like, thinking about I got to charge them right now. But yeah, it's a lot of fun here covering the Tampa Bay Lightning because there's not too many of us. So
there's not too many of us.
when there's not too many of us, we can have a good time and just kind of do things like this. If it was a little more buttoned up, maybe I wouldn't wear crazy ass shoes. But there you go. Cooper liked them, right? Kind of.
Did he like him, or was he taking advantage of a good sound bite slash?
If John Cooper can avoid the first couple of conversations in the morning skate by picking up a hockey stick or looking at somebody's shoes, he's gonna do that every single time. That's what's fun. I mean, it's good to, and he wasn't always like that. It's great to see him kind of evolve. But I guess one of the things we gleaned from him today, Ed, was it looks like Andrei Vasilevsky could be back tonight. And then we see the news a little while ago that Jonas Johansson day-to-day with a lower body injury and Matt Tompkins gets called up. I'd be surprised if Matt Tompkins gets called up and, starts the game tonight. But when we didn't see Jonas Johansson on the ice today, especially after getting the start the other night, it was kind of like, all right, well, you see Kyle Conan, you see Andrei Vasilevsky. I think signs point to Vazzy being back between the pipes tonight. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, some of this is probably a little bit of gamesmanship because you have the opportunity to have it. But the fact that Vazzy skated this morning, I think, says that he will start tonight. And obviously not seeing Jonas out there, obviously that was a question mark until we saw what we saw with the Matt Tompkins call up and the basically the news that Johansson is out day to day with a lower body injury. So a lot of pieces to put together at around 10:30 this morning when skate started, but I think it's kind of all coming a little bit clear here. But yeah, I mean, most of the time, I think Coops called him, a game time decision, but I think I'd be pretty surprised if we don't see Andrei Vasilevsky lead out the team for pregame warmups tonight.
I'm with you. Also, Mikey Encina was actually one of the last people on the ice today with J.J. Moser and Emil Lilleberg, and we know Lilleberg serving game 2 of his suspension tonight, so he won't be in there. Moser, he's back. He's around. He's playing some forward today. He's chilling. He probably won't be back until after the Four Nations. But Encina looks like coming out of the lineup, that turnover, not turnover, but I just thought just a ill-timed penalty hitting Connor Bedard after it looked like he was just granting the Tampa Bay Lightning a power play with that tripping call. Coop didn't, even though we asked him about it, he didn't mention it after morning skate today, Double E. I call you Double E too. Mikey Encina, is it kind of one of those things where he's paying the price for a team that needs to start making some smarter plays?
Well, I think, the way that I worded the question to Coop this morning was whether there were lineup changes. And obviously, I actually expected him to mention Encina there. He did not. He went to the Vasilevsky part of it.
He did.
But
he knew what he was doing.
Right. So, but I do think that this is probably a little bit of a disciplinary thing with Mikey. It's tough because especially when you're a player like him, who is a, kind of an energy kind of guy who's going to try to, start stuff to kind of get his team involved. But, at that point, it's a 2-goal game. Right. Again, like you mentioned, you have the opportunity there to get their best player off the ice for 2 minutes and the opportunity more than anything to get this power play going. Whether it's a 2-game goal, 1-game goal, whatever, you want to take advantage of it. So definitely a brain cramp on Encina's part. I like Mikey Encina's game. I like the way that he plays. I know he's struggled a lot this year with converting his chances, as have a lot of guys on that bottom six. But you just can't make that decision in the moment when it's not going to get you anything. So especially in a 2-goal game when you need every advantage you can, and the power play, like you said, is basically gift wrapped for you there within the final 4 minutes of the game. So it's especially this team has done well, especially recently in that when they've had that kind of 6-on-4 advantage. We saw it against a couple games ago where they scored a late 6-on-4 goal. Those are hard to do, but and they're even rarer the opportunities. So I think that's what's at play here. We haven't heard that officially from Coop yet, but I think kind of the writing's on the wall here because you can't really go 11-7 with the suspension to Hollenberg. So probably we see Cam Atkinson in there instead of.
So Zemgus Girgensons wasn't on the rink though today either. He wasn't on the ice yesterday for practice. So what would the line? So would that be 12? Am I doing the math wrong?
Well, if Z's out there, it would be 12, right? Because you have Atkinson, Z, you have Goncalves back in the lineup too. I think 3 Geeky.
Oh, Goncalves, that's the guy.
Goncalves, Paul, Girgensons.
So Girgensons is probably going to be out tonight. So you'll have, let's just say you'll have Cooch, Point, and We'll just play the normal game. Cooch, Point, Gensel, right? We'll do Sorelli, Hagel, and Geeky.
Right.
And then it'll be Paul, Chafee, and Goncalves. Okay, and then Glendening. No Girgensons. Glendening. It'll be Glendening,
Atkinson. I never got the sense that Girgensons was a body maintenance thing yesterday.
Really?
That it was so. If that's the case, you only have 11. Girgensons is out. You only have 11 forwards there.
That's right.
Play Atkinson. So, I didn't think that Girgensons was an issue, but
not skating again today. That's why, right? Like because Cooch was off yesterday.
Yeah.
He's back in there today. But then when I didn't see Girgensons out there, what would they do? Right? They'd have to call somebody else back up. So, but if they're not calling anybody else up, that probably means that Girgensons will play.
Yeah. If you can get a guy up, you get a guy up, right? So
you probably would have done it by now, right?
And especially if you're already bringing a guy up with Tompkins. So, like you said, again, right now with the Littleberg suspension, you've only got 6 healthy D, right? So, with Carlisle in there and. And at this point too, there's so many different things that we don't necessarily know the ins and outs of as far as the cap and everything like that. Obviously, we know from what Julian told us the other day that they're trying to save as much money as possible under that cap to invest in something at the trade deadline potentially. So, they're not doing this because they want to. They're doing these call ups. They're doing it because they need to.
What was your biggest takeaway from the fireside chat with Julian on Monday?
A lot of good things. Julian always is very forward about it. Like we've discussed, it's interesting his perspective on the team right now in terms of, where they are statistically and they should have more points than maybe given the way they've played. But I thought it was interesting that he didn't really, I don't necessarily expect him to do so, but kind of say that they did need some depth scoring in terms of the forward group. I think that everyone can kind of point to that in terms of they're an extremely top-heavy team, and when you have players that have had those kind of years, and sometimes that's expected. And he kind of pointed to a league trend where across the league that maybe that's the case with other teams, but when you're in a situation like this where when the well runs dry with the top 6 guys that you're struggling scoring goals, something's got to come out of it. So I still think that they're going to be very active on the trade front, but it will be like he said, it might not be till after the 4 Nations, until when this trade market kind of evolves, and then you kind of look at what's out there. So, and the other part of it is that.
Oh, lost you. Let's get you back.
But there's a lot. Sorry, did I lose you there, Jay? For a second?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Hold on, I can't hear you. Hold on. Can you hear me now? I can't hear you though.
Can't hear me? No. Oh boy.
I got a call here. Hold on.
Who did this happen with the other week? Oh, Gabby Shirley. It must be a lightning thing. Talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning. We lose it. Oh boy.
Hold on, I'll call you back, Jay. Hold on.
Call me back. Get out and get back in. That happens sometimes when people are on their phone and they get a phone call and they try to they exit out or they swipe up and they're like not able to get back and they can't hear me or we can't hear them. Last time we couldn't hear Gabby. This time Ed couldn't hear me. So that's just, the advances in modern technology, but we'll make it work. Double E Ed Encina, well, double E, another double E. I feel bad calling him double E. Should I? I shouldn't feel bad. All right, let's bring him back in. There you go, buddy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. So here's the thing. I call my editors because I want to talk to them before this, and then I don't get them, and then they call me back while I'm on this. And then so now I'm doing this on my phone, so
I was just saying when you left that I had the same problem with Gabby Shirley last week, but same thing. She got a phone call. It was her husband, but she could hear me and I couldn't hear her. So it was the opposite. So, but yeah, it's not just you, but so again, back to the fireside chat, like the thing with Julian Brisebois and, very transparent. We're very lucky that he does that. Like he doesn't have to do that. But I want to ask you this, because I was having this conversation with Dave Randolph earlier today. Is there any concern from you? Because I do have some concerns that they're so focused on, hey, the numbers tell us we're going to get better, that they're just kind of waiting for things. Like, to me, I don't mean that they need to overreact. I don't mean that they have to trade a bunch of guys and they have to I'm not a overreactor. I'm not a gloom and doom kind of guy. But, Ed, I do feel there is a little something of, this team needs a little bit of a kick in the ass. They do need to show a little bit more character. We saw it the other night when Pat Maroon was here. It was like, they don't have that kind of guy, right? We know what his shortcomings. He doesn't, not the fleetest of foot. He's an older guy. We get that. But there's also something to be said about a guy that he lifts everybody up and stands a little bit taller on the bench. We've heard Coop say that for many years. He makes the guys on the bench stand a little bit taller. We haven't heard that rhetoric this year from him. So is there a little bit of a concern that as much as this team thinks that just naturally they're going to progress to the mean, that they really need to kind of take control of this situation a little bit more and maybe do something tangibly to get them better?
Yeah, so I think, there's a couple things that when you mention that. One is, yes, the leadership dynamic of this group has dramatically changed over the past year. Like with no Steven Stamkos, who is always the guy that everyone automatically looked to say something. Like you said, they don't have those tough guys like Maroon that you said make you stand a little bit taller. There's some guys in development with, Lilberg and maybe geeky guys like that, but they're young guys. They're not going to be those. They're going to bring energy, but they're not going to do that kind of stuff that Pat does. But I do think that bringing the whole idea of like coming back to the mean of what statistically they should be is a little bit of of hope over reality a little bit.
Right.
And that whole process over outcome thing that they've, the narrative that they've really executed so well and believed by through the years, this is a part of it. Having said that, I do believe that this stretch of games in January has been abnormally brutal. The schedule that they've been on, the travel they've been on. I only covered 3 road games out of this stretch, and I'm beat. That part of it's real, and I know these guys make millions of dollars, and stuff like that, but that part of it is real, and I do, expect them to benefit from being at home, from being on the break. No doubt, the last game was disappointing, hugely disappointing in the fact that you need points in a game like that against that team in Chicago that has the second fewest points in the league, I believe, and you need those points. So I think that adds to a little bit of disappointment. We've seen this team go through those kind of phases and stuff like that. And there's always been something that kind of brings them back a little bit. And we saw this last year in early January when, they were in a much worse situation, I feel like, than they are now.
Right.
And they figured it out. So I do think that, you have this belief that it'll come around, and also you have this, you get back to basics a little bit. Yesterday they had a good practice. They really haven't had the opportunity to do that. I think they had 2 practice days all month up until yesterday. So I think both of them might have been on the road. So, the regularity of the schedule can kind of mean something. And I think there's a lot of hope that goes into that for sure. But yeah, I mean, so I do think that there's some people, some coaches and staff that are still going in there with that belief. They're still kind of shrugging their shoulders. They're
Right.
kind of like, there is something here that, that might be missing,
I'm with you. Yeah, and I'm hoping that whether it's a guy called up or a guy just kind of taking his game to the next level or a trade deadline acquisition like we saw last year when Julian did go out and get an Anthony Duclair and Matt Dumba. I know some people are talking about bringing Duclair back, but listen, let's not forget, he started out hot. He was with, but by the end, you barely saw him. He was a middle six guy. It's just, that's been the story of his career. I mean, he's just been inconsistent. Great guy, but just not consistent enough to warrant a top 6 role. So yeah, back in action tonight against the LA Kings. We just touched on a little bit of everything. I want to ask you about Royal Rumble coming up on Saturday night. Who is your pick to win it all, buddy?
I don't know, man. I there's so many good guys in this Rumble. It's like abnormally enticing because there's no real, I mean, I'm gonna say, I don't know, man. Like I think, I know this is gonna be like the fan pick or anything like that. But I mean, like, I'd like to see John Cena win,
Okay.
But, I mean, the WWE's made a lot of this, of his farewell tour, but we really haven't seen that much of him at the same time, and I know that's kind of all planned out, but I'd like to see him win. Rumble's so good though. I mean, like, we were at it last year and it's such a great event, and just the structure of it and how they've been able to keep it lively over the years and stuff like that. 2 years ago, I think everyone forgets that, the Rumble 2 years ago was the Sammy's chair hit on Roman that killed the bloodline. So whatever it is, I expect a good event. I expect it to be something that's memorable. So that's why I kind of think it could go that way. It's like a Cena or maybe a Punk or someone like that, who wins it. So what do you think?
So to me, I just start pairing off people, right? And I figure like what kind of storyline makes the most sense. And I'm looking at Cody Rhodes and CM Punk and why they ended Monday Night Raw the other night. And I'm kind of leaning in that direction. I thought it was going to be Roman because you figure out who's going to pair off with who. And the reason why I don't think it's going to be John Cena is because he's going to be in Elimination Chamber. So you would probably have him in that match. You're not going to have him in that match if he wins the Royal Rumble.
Right.
So I kind of eliminate Cena for that. Who does Roman face at WrestleMania, right? Because you know how wrestling is. You work backwards, right?
Right.
So do you go Roman Cody 3? I don't know if you do that. Do you go Roman Cena? I don't know if that's necessarily like, who do you do? It's got to be Roman Rock, right? So Roman Rock, Drew McIntyre cost Roman winning because The Rock sent him after him, right? So it's Roman Rock there. Let's just play devil's advocate there. Who does Seth Rollins face? Does he face Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship to reclaim the title that he made famous? Okay. Where does that leave John Cena, right? Maybe John Cena goes after Gunther, right? Maybe that's that aspect of it.
I think that makes sense.
That does make sense. I think CM Punk is either going to go against Seth Rollins or he's going to go against Cody Rhodes. But the reason why I'm veering away from him and Seth Rollins is, why would you have that match at WrestleMania when it was just the main event of First Raw on Netflix? So that means Seth is going to have to go somewhere else. Does Seth wrestle a 3-way match with Sammy and KO? I think that would be good. I think that would be entertaining. So I think all roads lead back to CM Punk winning the Royal Rumble against, and then going on to WrestleMania to face Cody Rhodes, because that's a big name. It's a big matchup, the history with AEW. And he finally gets his main event. Like, that's one of those things where main event night 1 is going to be that. Main event night 2 is, it's got to be Roman Rock, right? If that's the way they're going to go. But let's say Roman doesn't face The Rock. Who does he face?
Right. And, like you're alluding to here is that, whoever wins this, it has to be some kind of marketable, match that you can play up, 2 months, more than 2 months until Mania.
That's why I think it got to be, it's one of 3 people. Well, I say one of 3 people that we know of. It's going to be Roman. It's going to be John Cena. It's going to be CM Punk.
Right.
It's not going to be, I don't think it'll be Rollins, McIntyre, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be any of the guys. The wild card out of this whole thing is Brock Lesnar, because I feel like if Brock Lesnar comes in and he wins, he challenged Gunther because that's what they wanted to do last year. I think that makes a lot of sense. Then you leave a whole lot of things open for the other.
Yeah, all bets are off
match.
then.
All bets are off. And I
Yeah.
really hope that they do that, because I think it opens things up for everybody else. Because I don't know about you, but I think Gunther's lost a little bit of steam. I don't respect the hell out of the guy, but his promos are falling flat. I know he wasn't going to lose to Jey Uso, but I think everybody wanted to see Jey Uso win that.
Yeah.
But he's another guy. Like, what does he do?
Right.
Because I think you could argue nobody's hotter in the WWE right now than Jey Uso. Like, he comes out there, no better entrance. He puts on incredible matches. He's got such a connection with the crowd. And you know as well as anybody, it's about evoking emotions. Somebody asked me the other day, what do you think of Logan Paul? Is he getting booed? Is that good heat or bad heat? I go, that's tremendous heat. If you're getting booed to the fact where they don't want to hear what you have to say. This isn't Hulk Hogan, apathetic. Oh God, this mother, this is Logan Paul, The New Day, Dominic Mysterio. Those three right there. Like,
right. Absolutely.
That's heat, bro. That's bad guys. I don't want everybody to be a cool heel. I think that's lame as hell. Give me a guy that people hate. Logan Paul, who does he wrestle? Because he's going to be in a marquee match. Is he going against Bad Bunny? Is Logan Paul going against, would he be a guy that you throw in the mix? Logan Paul, John Cena at WrestleMania. Like, if he doesn't wrestle for the title, it's got to be a huge name. And I don't know if you saw, did I tell you about the thing on Roku with John Cena? Have you heard about it?
No.
Do you have Roku at all?
I don't have Roku.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try to find a way.
That's like the one thing I don't have.
You got to check it out. So Roku's got this new show with John Cena, and it's called What Drives You. And he goes to people's houses and checks out their cars and like hangs out with them for the day. And the 4 episodes that came out, the first one was Logan Paul. And it was freaking awesome down in Puerto Rico. And they had so much respect for each other. Logan Paul said something like, after the fact, like, I don't want to hurt John Cena. He's too old. And then he went to go see Jelly Roll in Nashville. He went to go see The Miz in LA. And then the other one was, the best one, Travis Barker from Blink-182, the drummer from Blink-182. And they made a song, like John Cena was rapping. Like, it was phenomenal. It was great.
I think I've actually seen a clip of that one.
You got to see that. It was so good. But yeah, him and his chemistry with Logan Paul was like, wow, this could make a lot of sense. So maybe it's something like that. Do you think Cena breaks the world Ric Flair's record during this streak, during this run?
I don't know. We've got till when? So we've got till
December.
Till December. So you got Slam, you've got
Survivor Series.
I mean, you kind of, if you're going to build it up like this, I think it's more than just as much as like it's being peddled as this. It's more than a goodbye tour. You know, I think you've got to kind of make that work somehow. I don't know how it does. And
you got to capitalize every single time you have to capitalize on it.
Yeah. So I think so. I think if you're gonna put this much into it, you've got to give you know what we want. As much as we want the emotion, we want the reward too, right?
Right.
So, and, as much as like everyone wants Jey Uso to win, eventually that's going to fall flat, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Jey keeps losing, eventually that's going to fall flat. Like you said about Gunther, like as great as he is, like there is a level there where like we're kind of waiting for what is that next level for him, and I do agree that he's kind of, but with Cena, I think you've got to give him what they want, and that's him, holding a belt up, one more time. So, yeah.
Ed, what do you got coming up over on TampaBay.com/sports and over at the Tampa Bay Times?
Yeah, what are we doing? Well, soon we're going to be having some features and coming about the Four Nations. I had a good talk with John Cooper this morning about what it means to him to be the coach of Team Canada, and obviously I've sat down with some of the guys who are going to play. We talked to Victor Hedman this morning about being named the captain of Team Sweden. I actually had to catch up with Victor, and after we talked to him, I pulled him aside. I was like, I've got to make sure this is right, because I was looking on his his career resume, and I was like, this would be your 10th major international tournament representing Sweden. He was like, no, I think it's 9. I was like, okay, bear with me here. Let's count these. And I have my phone out, and we're like, same day, World Juniors, World Championships, World Cups, stuff like that. And then obviously for Victor, the main thing is as much as everyone's excited about Four Nations,
It's about the Olympics. It's amazing that a guy like that, who's represents Team Sweden, in 10 different things, and he still hasn't played in the Olympics. Obviously, there's been this big break with the Olympics, but I think that's so exciting for some of these guys. The preamble is kind of this Four Nations thing, which is awesome because it's the best on best. And I think all those guys, just talking to a lot of them, they're so excited. I think it's hard sometimes for us to understand how much it means to represent your country, some of these things for these guys. So hopefully I'll get to some of that in these stories. But I think that's going to be a big thing. Obviously, we have the break coming up. So, what is it? Like four more home games, and then a back-to-back on the road, and then that Four Nations tournament. So we'll be busy doing some of that stuff. Today we have a story on Gage Gonsalves, and kind of, he's not going to solve their problems, but he's here for a reason. He's here to try to help them, with that depth scoring, and kind of looking into whether he can do that. Like I said, he's not going to save the farm or anything like that. But if you can get him playing a certain way, it definitely can help. And this is the time when you look at those guys. You look at the prospects that you've got down there and see if they can help you. So you have a better idea of what you do need going into that 2 weeks before the trade deadline on March 7th.
How Gage can solve the issues for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Don't worry, folks. I'll be here all night. I will be here all night. And so will he. At Eddie in the Yard, Twitter/X. Go again. Support local. We had Rick Stroud on with us earlier today. Eddie Encina.
Wait, you had Stroud on?
Yeah, we had Stroud on. I was able to lasso him, bring him on.
Wow, that's a big get.
Listen, you tell your editors at the Tampa Bay Times, I don't know if anybody's promoting you guys as much as I am. All right? I love you guys over there. Topkin's been on too. Trying to get John Romano, but I just got to get him to say hi to me first. Got Colleen right on. I love the Tampa Bay Times. Everybody over there. Support local guys and gals. I can't say it enough. Subscribe today to the Tampa Bay Times. Every little bit helps. Eduardo Encina. Eduardo, the Big Oos, joins us every Thursday here at 1:30. Appreciate it, buddy. Enjoy your next hour without me annoying you, and you'll see me in my crazy ass shoes in a bit.
All right, Jay. Make sure they're charged up.
I got to charge my shoes. You're right. I'm going to do that here in a bit after I go get some lunch. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me. I got to go get some lunch and then come back here and start cutting up some videos. Man U plays at 3 p.m. today. Europa League action. Cannot wait for that. We got Mindy McCord joining us at 2 o'clock tomorrow. USF women's lacrosse coach. I got a couple irons in the fire. Let's see if we can get some other people on the show. You know how I roll right here on the Jay Recher podcast. A big thank you to Rick Stroud, to Eddie Encina, and Rich Hollenberg for joining us on the program today, making it awesome. Check out the video of John Cooper reacting to my shoes at Jay Recher on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. I'm back home tomorrow, but I'll be at Amalie Arena all day and all night, hopefully watching the Tampa Bay Lightning win. I love you guys. I thank you for all of the support. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Jay Recher podcast. I'm